In this video, we want to explore the Bible word study. This is one of my favorite features and one that I use all the time, and I think you will too once you get to know it. And there's many ways that you can access it. If you come here to the top of the screen where it says Guides, just click there and you'll see that the second option here is a Bible word study. This helps me to see how a word is translated, how it's used in context, and much more. And that is certainly one way. I can simply type into the Bible word study the word of my choice and hit enter, and here I go. But I want to go ahead and close that because I want to suggest that there's a more practical way to access the Bible word study, at least in my own experience. This is how I like to do it. I'm reading the Bible, say I'm in Matthew 5 and verse 48, where Jesus says in the Sermon on the Mount, "You therefore must be perfect, as your heavenly Father is perfect." And so the question occurs to me, well, what does it mean, really, to be perfect? And what biblical concepts might stand behind that word? What Hebrew words and Greek words help to color my understanding of this truth that Christ wants to convey? And so I'm more inclined just to click that word. If you right-click the word perfect, you can see that this menu pops up. Go ahead and select the first option here on the left side of the menu, which says Selection Perfect, and that way the right side of the menu changes accordingly. The first thing listed here on the right is Bible word study. So we can launch a Bible word study, as you can see here. On the left, it opens up. And what am I presented with right away? This is very helpful. A selection of dictionaries that give me their entry on that very word, perfect. So, for example, the Catholic Bible Dictionary is here, and I can click this link and see the full article. I love that I get 5 or 6 lines of preview to see what I can expect. And immediately I get this helpful little definition right at the top. Perfect means complete and without flaw. And look, in this opening paragraph, it tells me about the Old Testament usage of this concept, and I'm directed to Deuteronomy 32 and a few Psalms and Genesis, etc. And then just one more quick paragraph to tell me a bit about the concept of perfection in the New Testament. And here we find Matthew 5:48 and Luke and Philippians, etc. That's a very nice gateway into a Bible word study, for sure, using a dictionary. And so I have a number of them available to me in the Bible word study guide. Now, scroll down a little bit because you're going to find this colorful translation ring. This is a lot of fun. And what is it doing here? What you need to notice is the word in the middle. And notice that that's the English word perfect, right? And now see how around the ring we have a number of terms in Hebrew. And mind you, this can be helpful even if you know nothing of Hebrew, but you just want to get a sense of how a word is being translated. And you can see, is it just one Hebrew word behind this English word, or are there several? And here I can see that there are several. And so that might be interesting to know that the most common word is this one here. I could click tamim. And again, even if you don't know Hebrew, it will show you how to say that word with this transliteration just next to the Hebrew characters. It tells you that that's the word tamim, and 7 of the 20 instances in which the word perfect appears in the RSV. Do you see how we're using the RSV CE here? Well, 7 of those 20 instances of the word perfect are renderings of the Hebrew word tamim. And so here they are. And for example, Leviticus 22:21, and let's see, look at this one here in Psalm 18:30. It says, "This God, his way is tamim, his way is perfect," translates the RSV. Okay, so that's helpful. Notice then that this translation ring uses the English word in the middle, Hebrew words on the side. If I want to see the breakdown of where these verses appear, just click this helpful chart here. It's telling me that there are 20 verses in which the word perfect appears in the RSV. And so, for example, here in the Psalms, there are going to be 5 instances of that word. And in Matthew, there are 4. And so we can open those graphic results as well to get a sense of what Hebrew words stand behind this English concept. If we keep scrolling, we see that the next session shows Greek words. And of course, when we're studying the New Testament, this is very, very important information, right? Because the New Testament, of course, is written in Greek, and we might be wondering about which word Matthew is using. So, for example, look at what this translation ring is telling me. It says that in the RSV, we have the word perfect translating which Greek words? Well, all of these. Some of them are the verb, like here we have teleo, and then teleos over here. And again, if you don't know how to read the Greek, don't worry. Just click that segment of the translation ring. Teleos is right here, transliterated for you. And it's going to show me that the RSV uses the word perfect to translate this Greek word. So in the Book of Wisdom, and then of course in Matthew 5:48, which is our verse, that's what we were interested to know. And then look, it's also here in Romans and in James, etc. So we might be interested to see how the other biblical authors are using that same word, in what context. Maybe that can help color my understanding as well. As we keep scrolling down, there's a section called senses. And because, a single word can have different senses, different meanings. And so look at the difference, for example, between perfect as an adjective, that's the first one, and then this one at the bottom is to fully accomplish, to perfect. So I might be interested to see the differences there. And Verbum will help me navigate to those passages where that difference is more important. I'm going to skip down. Go ahead. You can explore more, but I'm going to touch on this textual search at the bottom because I find this really helpful. What if I wanted to see all of those instances at once where the word perfect is used in the RSV? I can launch a search from right here in the Bible Word Study Guide. I don't have to go and open a search tab for myself. No, it's already anticipated what I'm likely interested to do. And look at this. The search bar opens up. It's a Bible search. I can look in all passages. You might be interested to look just in the New Testament or just inside of Matthew. Well, let's keep it here for all passages. And, there it is, all the information that I might be interested to learn here about a biblical search. I'll go ahead and close that. We can come back to this idea in a moment, but I want to suggest that there's an even better way to use the Bible word study. At least, oftentimes, this is of great interest to me. So, let's go ahead and close the Bible word study and open it back up from our Bible. I'm here in the RSV once again. In Matthew 5:48, I right-click the word perfect, but this time, I'm interested to study Matthew's word, the original Greek word. I can select that. I don't have to open up my Greek New Testament. I can stay right here in my favorite source, and I can just choose the word teleos. Look at the transliteration again. If you don't know how to say it, don't be afraid. Also, you've got this little translation ring. You see that circle there? That's saying you're going to choose the Greek lemma. And look what appears on the right side of the menu. Lemma teleos. And sure enough, just below that, the invitation to launch a Bible word study. This is the way I like to do it. And so the reason for that is because look what opens now on the left side of the menu. It's not Bible dictionaries in English on the entry called perfect. No, these are lexicons that are looking up the Greek word teleos, Matthew's word. And if I select more here, you can see that I have a number of lexicons to choose from. One of them is the LTW, that is the Lexham Theological Word Book. And this can be very helpful. Look what opens up here on the right side of my screen. I have right to that spot in the entry where it talks about the specific word that I'm interested, and it tells me that teleos means perfect, mature, complete, initiated, fully developed. And then I've got a short little paragraph here about that word and its usage in the New Testament. But notice something. I'm inside the article on perfection. Can you see that this is the table of contents here that I can toggle on and off from this bar? And as I scroll down, I see that perfection begins here. Teleos is nestled inside of that article. If I scroll to the top, I can read through a short article on perfection, and tells me a nice definition in 1 or 2 sentences. As I move down the page, I see a concept summary, again, a short paragraph that then moves into a theological overview. This means in short time, I'm going to get a good picture at the use of this word and this concept. And I love how it breaks it down into the Old Testament. I get 6 terms right away. Tamim among the first of them, which means complete and whole, sound, blameless, and perfect. Now, I get instances in the Old Testament where that appears. And if you see just in the table of contents, look, I can look at each of those Hebrew words, but as I scroll down, I see all the New Testament words that speak to this concept of perfection. So do you think that's a helpful tool for getting a nice picture, an interpretation, if you will, of what the translation ring was beginning to present? But it offered me many, many passages. This gives me a selection, and it's now interpreting. It's giving me a brief essay to explain this concept. That's a very nice gateway into a Bible word study. But let's scroll down the page here on the left. Now we have a translation ring that I think is even more useful in a way, right? Because what's the word in the center? Not an English word. It's the Greek word. It's Matthew's word, teleos. And what this translation ring is telling me is that in the RSV, that word, teleos, appears in 21 verses of the Bible. And when it appears, how is it translated by the RSV? Well, with a number of words. 3 words to be exact: perfect, mature, and full. That I find very helpful, because if I want to now zoom in on all of those segments where teleos is translated perfect, well, that's what I have here just below. 13 of 21 instances of the word teleos get translated with this word perfect, and here they are. And so, for example, Matthew 5:48 is there, but also Matthew 19:21, where Jesus says to the rich young man, "If you would be perfect, go sell what you possess and give to the poor." Well, that's helpful. That's helpful context, and I'm grateful to be pointed in that direction. By the way, if you don't want to see segment by segment here, the translation ring, notice that as I click mature, I get 7 of 21 instances where the word teleos is translated mature. If you want to see them all at once, just click the center of the tool. You can click to toggle on, click to toggle off again, and then you'll see all of the instances of that word as you scroll down below, and you have these helpful indentations to mark the segments. Okay, so know how to use your translation ring. It's very, very helpful. Now, just below that section, we have a new section called the Septuagint translation. What is this telling me? Again, look to the center of the wheel. What language is there? It's the Greek word, right? And around that, we have a number of Hebrew words. This is telling me that the Greek Hebrew Bible, that is the translation of the Hebrew Bible into Greek, which is the Septuagint, is going to use the word teleos to translate a number of different Hebrew words, among them tamim and tam, and again, we can see that just below. So that, if you're interested to know, well, what about the Old Testament when it was translated into Greek? What did those authors think the word teleos meant? What did it mean blameless to them? Did it mean perfect and whole? Well, you can study that there. Go down below and you'll see a section on roots. This is actually quite important when it comes to our particular word perfect, because perfect is an adjective, teleos, and we find that here with the orange circle. But if you'll notice that all of these words contain the same root, tel or telos, and that basic root means end or completion. And so, for example, we even have some verbs here. Teleo means to complete or finish. I could launch a Bible word study on that word and quickly find out where Matthew uses that one. I'll just click the translation ring here, and as I scroll down to Matthew, I see in Matthew 7:28 and in 11:1 and in 13:53, when Jesus had finished instructing or teaching, that verb there, finished, means is from the word telos, or the verb teleo. And so that can also shape my understanding of perfect, means something that is brought to its end point, brought to the finish line, as it were. And that can be helpful. But another example is a noun, like sun telea, or telea, where if I see here, clicking that translation ring on the right, I can see that Matthew uses that word in 28:20 when Jesus says, of course, in the Great Commission, I am with you always to the end, or the close of the age. And so that helps me understand this idea of teleos, it almost takes on this eschatological sense, when things are brought to their end point, the place where they're always meant to go, right? So that's helpful too. Let's close that extra Bible word study, because I want to move down here to of course we saw senses already earlier. I'll scroll down to the bottom of the Bible word study, because there's a textual search here that I am offered that I find particularly helpful. Look at the new options that I have when I run the Bible word study in Greek and not in English. So I have the Septuagint I can run a search in, the New Testament. Let's do that one. The New Testament. I want to see where else in the New Testament this word teleos appears. What happens? Well, the search bar, a search menu opens up, and you can see that some confusing looking coding was placed here in the query box. I didn't have to know how to type that at all. Thank you, Verbum, for doing that for me. But then down below, I have almost what I want. I have all of these verses in the New Testament where the word appears, but it's all in Greek. What if you don't know Greek? That's okay, just come here, and you can see that in this section, you have the opportunity to add versions. And so I want to add a version. I want to add the RSV CE, let's say. And now, just alongside these Greek texts, I see their English equivalent, where the words are highlighted because of the tagging that is already available to me in Verbum. And that is very helpful for seeing immediately where this word appears in Romans, and you can scroll down the list to see what's of interest to you. Okay, so that's one way to use this textual search. Look in the New Testament. But this is perhaps even more exciting and different, right? The Apostolic Fathers. What if you wanted to ask yourself the question, where did those first and second century Christians use this same word, the one that Matthew used? Well, click a textual search here in the Bible word study. Verbum opens a new search tab. And of course, I have all of these texts, 24 results, it tells me, in 23 verses. And I'm getting Clement right here, and already I can see that this text is appearing, but it's only in Greek. If I want translation, I simply add a version. And so if you don't know what to do, simply type in AP for Apostolic Fathers, and let's see what Verbum suggests to me. And you'll see that there are a number of options. The first one is right here, the Apostolic Fathers in English. That indeed is a great option here because of the reverse interlinear. That is, every word in English is tagged with its Greek equivalent. If I were to come down to this other version of the Apostolic Fathers, that's not always the case for all of the books. And so I'm going to choose this Apostolic Fathers and just click the box here, or click Enter. Click the arrow here on the right side, and you'll see that I get the text now in translation. And look, the words are highlighted. So as I scroll down, I can see what other authors in the 1st and 2nd century are using that word teleos. And so I find this fascinating, that right there in the Didache, we find that the author writes, if someone gives you a blow on the right cheek, turn the other to him also, and you will be teleos. You'll be perfect. Good. So can you see how that might be useful for your own Bible word study? Do you know, maybe you're reading a commentary and you're just not sure, do I agree with this author and his interpretation of the word perfect? Maybe I could do my own research and see what verses in the Old Testament and in the New Testament illuminate this concept, so I can make my own estimation. Or perhaps you're preparing for a homily, and it just so happens that Matthew 5:43 to 48 is the gospel passage, and it's coupled with this reading here in Deuteronomy, and which ends with, "And you shall be a people holy to the Lord your God, as he has spoken." And it occurs to you, well, does holiness and perfection mean something similar? Or as you read down the page, you realize that the responsorial psalm that day is, "Blessed are those whose way is blameless, who walk in the law of the Lord." And as you open to this passage in Psalm 119, you realize that the word blameless there is tamim, the very same word that we know is translated by teleos in certain passages, the same word Matthew uses. So that can help draw some relations in your mind. Blamelessness, holiness, perfection. What is the relationship? How do these words color each other? And I think that's a very helpful way to prepare for your own preaching, your own study of the Scriptures. Now, I want to give you a little invitation to do this on your own. Why don't you open a Bible word study and try to run, say, a Bible word study on the Our Father. You know that passage where Jesus says, "Give us this day our daily bread"? Go ahead and right-click and choose to run a Bible word study in English, and then do it again, but grab this time the Greek word, and I think you'll be fascinated to know what you can learn.